10 signs your dog is nearing the end of their life. What if your dog had already started saying goodbye and you just didn't see it? Not because you were careless, not because you didn't love them, but because the signs didn't look like warning signs at all. Because here's the truth. Dogs don't cry. They don't wail. They don't plead. When a dog begins to let go, they do it in the quietest, most loyal way possible by protecting you from it. They disguise their pain as routine. They turn their final moments into ordinary ones. And that's why 99% of owners miss the chance to be there when it matters most. So if you're here watching this, pause for a second, look down at your dog, or maybe remember the one you still carry in your heart, and now ask yourself, would I recognize the moment they were trying to say goodbye? If you're even slightly unsure, then this video is for you. And listen, I'm not going to ask you to subscribe just for this channel. This isn't about clicks or numbers. This is about love. And if you've ever loved a dog even once, you already know how deep that bond runs. So go ahead, tap the like, hit subscribe. Not for us, for every dog that silently hopes their human will notice before it's too late. Let's begin. 1. The eyes that start saying everything. There's something about a dog's eyes that feels almost supernatural. One moment it's playful, bright, alive with mischief. And then, out of nowhere, it stops you in your tracks. That gaze shifts, softer, longer. Almost as if they're trying to memorize your face, like they know their time is running shorter than yours. Some dogs do the opposite. They look away. They avoid your gaze completely, as if holding back something too heavy for you to carry. And that's the part most people miss. Neither reaction is random. Dogs are emotional creatures, but they don't spill their feelings in words. They lock them in their eyes until the very end. And when that shift happens, it's not just about sight. It's about connection. You'll feel it before you understand it. A quiet pause. A stillness that makes the room feel different, heavier. In that moment, it's as if your dog is staring into a place you can't see, but one they've already started walking toward. The hardest part, you'll probably dismiss it at first. He's just tired. She's just zoning out. But later, long after, you'll remember that look. And it won't feel random anymore. It will feel like the moment they were whispering goodbye through their eyes. And if you think that's hard to notice, wait until you see the next sign. Because sometimes it's not in their eyes at all. It's in the way they vanish. Number 2. The disappearing act. One day, your dog is stretched out on the couch, snoring like always. The next, you notice they're gone. Not just to another room, but hidden. Under the bed. Behind the laundry. Curled up in a corner they never cared about before. At first, you brush it off. He just found a new spot. She just wants some quiet. That sounds logical, until it isn't. In the wild, dogs hide when they're sick or dying. It's instinct written deep in their bloodline from wolves. Isolation was survival. And even though your home is safe and full of love, that ancient code doesn't disappear. So when a dog begins to pull back, it isn't random. It's deliberate. They're choosing distance. What makes this so heartbreaking is how ordinary it looks. You don't notice right away. You call their name a little louder. You check their usual spots by the door, by your chair, at the foot of your bed. But they're not there. You start leaving food out, hoping. Searching the house feels different now, heavier. Because deep down you realize this isn't exploration. This is retreat. And the cruelest twist, they're not hiding because they stopped loving you. They're hiding Because they do. They think they're protecting you from their decline, sparing you from the sight of their weakness. In their mind, pulling away is mercy. But if you think distance is hard to notice, wait until you hear the next sign. Because sometimes the sound that comforts you most, the sound you've trusted for years, might not mean what you think it does. Number 3. When the wag or sigh isn't what you think it is. For years, you've trusted the signs. A tail wag means joy. A soft sigh means comfort. That steady rhythm of their body against yours feels like reassurance. But near the end, those signals change in ways that most owners never realize until it's too late. Dogs, just like cats, have ways of soothing themselves when their bodies ache. A slow wag, lower, weaker, can be less about excitement and more about holding on. That deep exhale, the one you think is contentment, might be their way of calming nerves or easing pain. Even the little groans they make when lying down, sounds you once found endearing, may actually be whispers of discomfort. The most deceptive part, it comforts you. It makes you believe they're okay, that things aren't as bad as they seem. You hear the sigh, you see the wag, and you relax. At least he's happy. At least she's peaceful. But what if those familiar signals weren't reassurance at all? What if they were masks, thin covers over something they can't tell you out loud? And here's the hardest truth. Sometimes the signs that feel most normal are the very ones that are hiding the storm. Because if you've ever believed a wagging tail meant safety, wait until you see the next sign. Because this one isn't quiet, it's distance. And when your dog starts pulling away, it will break you in ways you never expected. Number 4, the unexpected distance. You're not meant to take personally. One night, your dog curls up at the foot of your bed, like always. The next, the space is empty. You call their name, but they don't come running. No paws on the floor, no nails clicking against the tile, just silence. And then you find them curled up alone in the hallway, or tucked into a corner they've never cared about before. Your first thought, did I do something wrong? Did I upset them? But this isn't rejection. It's not that they've stopped loving you. It's that something inside them is shifting. Their body feels foreign. Their instincts are pulling old codes from the wild, whispering, "Step away." Don't let the pack see your weakness. And so, the dog who spent years pressing against you on the couch, who followed you room to room, now starts pulling away. Not because the bond is broken, but because they think they're sparing you, protecting you from the weight of their decline. Mercy in the only way they know how to give it. It feels personal. It feels like abandonment. But in truth, it's love in disguise. Love trying not to burden you. And here's where most owners turn inward, blaming themselves, missing what's really happening. Because distance is hard enough to face. But what if the closeness changes too? What if your sweet, gentle companion suddenly acts in ways you've never seen before? Snapping, growling, restless like a stranger in their own skin. That's the next sign. And it's one of the most painful to watch. Number 5. Sudden agitation that doesn't match their personality. You reach out your hand the same way you've done 1,000 times before. But this time, instead of leaning in, your dog flinches. Maybe a low growl slips out. Maybe they snap just once, sharp and unexpected. And you freeze wondering, what happened? This isn't my dog. But here's the truth. It isn't about you. It isn't even about them changing who they are. It's about their body, how unfamiliar it's starting to feel. Aching joints, labored breaths, a nervous system firing signals that don't quite add up. And in that fog of discomfort, even the gentlest soul can seem different. You might notice the pacing at night, the sudden startle at small noises, the restless shifting when they try to lie down. Not anger, not moodiness, just a body they no longer fully trust. And because they can't explain it, they react. The hardest part, it's easy to misread. Owners think he's grumpy. She's just getting old. But no, what you're seeing is fear, vulnerability, the body becoming a stranger to itself. That growl isn't rejection. It's the only language they have left to say. Something doesn't feel right. And many stop here chalking it up to age, not realizing what's next. Because after agitation fades, something even more heartbreaking begins. The noise, the growl, the pacing, they fall quiet. And in that silence, another truth is waiting. Number 6. The silence of self-neglect. For as long as you can remember, your dog has been a creature of routine. The shake after a nap, the paw licking after a walk, the way they'd roll in the grass as if the earth itself was their brush. Grooming, scratching, keeping themselves clean, it's second nature. So when that rhythm stops, it's easy to miss. At first, their coat just looks a little dull. Maybe a patch of fur sticks out rougher than usual. Then mats begin to form where they once kept spotless. The shine fades, the softness disappears. It's not laziness, it's surrender. Their body is telling them, I don't have the strength anymore. You'll notice it in small ways. The smell of their fur, changing their eyes, looking heavier, the once playful shake of their body, after rain, now replaced with stillness. And you'll tell yourself, I should give them a bath. Maybe they just need brushing. But deep down, it's not about the fur. It's about fading energy. A dog who stops caring for themselves isn't neglecting, they're letting go. And here's the part that breaks you later. You'll remember how their coat used to shine in the sunlight, how they'd prance after being brushed, how proud they looked. And then you'll remember when it stopped and realize that silence was the warning. But if you think dull fur is easy to excuse, wait until you face what comes next. Because sometimes it's not just about how they look, it's about what they leave behind untouched. And nothing cuts deeper than a bowl left full. Number 7. The bowl left untouched. For years, that sound, the rattle of kibble in the bowl, was enough to bring them running. Nails clicking on the floor tail, wagging like a metronome of joy. Feeding time wasn't just a routine, it was a celebration, proof that life was still full and strong. So the first time you see them sniff the food and walk away, your heart skips. You try another flavor, another brand, maybe even warm it up, hand feed beg. And when they take 2 bites, you breathe out in relief. At least they're eating. But the next day, nothing again. This is the roller coaster every dog owner dreads. A bite here, a lick there, and then complete refusal. It plays with your hope, makes you think things are turning around until the untouched bowl stares back at you like a mirror of reality. The truth is simple but brutal. When the body starts to shut down, appetite is one of the first things to go and one of the last to return. What makes it worse? Sometimes they force themselves to eat just to comfort you. They see the worry in your eyes, the way you hover over every bite. And for that moment, they pretend. They chew not for hunger, but for you. And here's the part you'll never forget. The day the bowl stays full, and you realize it wasn't stubbornness. It was goodbye in disguise. But if a silent bowl feels heavy, wait until you see the next sign. Because the truth doesn't just show up in food, it shows up on the very ground beneath your feet. The walks that once defined your bond start to change, and that change cuts deeper than hunger ever could. Number 8. The final walk feels different. For most of their life, a walk was everything. The leash jingled, and they lit up like the world had just opened. Every step was an adventure, every sniff a story only they could read. The sidewalk wasn't just pavement, it was freedom, it was joy, it was life. So when the walk begins to change, you feel it. Their pace slows, their paws drag just a little. Maybe they stop, often staring at nothing, or refuse to move at all. The leash that once pulled you forward now hangs loose, heavy, like it's carrying the truth you don't want to face. And in those moments, the streets feel different. The world looks the same, but the silence beside you is louder than traffic. What used to be excitement now feels like endurance, a final journey wrapped in routine. The cruelest part. You'll mistake it for stubbornness. She's just tired. He's being lazy. But deep down, you know. This isn't laziness. It's their bodies saying, I can't keep up anymore. The walk you thought would last forever is quietly becoming a farewell ritual. And when they turn back toward home sooner than usual, or lie down mid-path, as if the earth itself is calling them to rest, you'll realize that was never just a walk. It was a memory being written one step at a time. But if slowing paws break your heart, wait until you feel what comes next. Because sometimes, instead of pulling away, your dog does the opposite. They come closer than ever before, and that closeness isn't about comfort. It's about closure. Number 9. The quiet closeness that feels like a gift. It happens when you least expect it. Maybe you're sitting on the couch, scrolling through your phone, or lying in bed after a long day. And suddenly, they're there. Your dog, who hasn't curled up beside you in weeks, climbs up slowly, carefully, and rests their head on your chest. No barking, no pawing, no noise at all. Just stillness. In that moment, it feels like a blessing. Like the old days when they never left your side. You smile, maybe even whisper, I've missed this. You let yourself believe it's a return, a spark of the bond you thought was fading. But later, when the silence grows heavier, you realize it was something else. Not a beginning, an ending wrapped as a gift. Dogs don't give grand speeches. They don't write goodbyes in words. Instead, they leave you with moments like this, quiet, tender, almost ordinary. A paw on your hand, a long gaze that lingers, a warmth pressed against your heart, as if they're etching themselves into your memory one last time. And here's the part you'll never forget. You didn't know it then, but that stillness was their farewell. What you thought was comfort was actually closure. But if a quiet cuddle can hold that much meaning, imagine the final sign, the one you don't see in their body at all, but deep inside yourself. A gut feeling you try to ignore, but can't. Number 10. The unshakable feeling in your heart. It doesn't always come from them. Sometimes it comes from you. A whisper you try to silence, a weight you carry in your chest that you can't explain. You watch your dog walk slower, linger in dark corners, breathe just a little heavier, and something inside you stirs. You don't want to admit it, but you know. You tell yourself stories to push it away. He's just tired. She's getting older. They always do this. Excuses become shields because the truth feels too sharp to hold. But no matter how hard you fight it, that gut feeling lingers. It gnaws at you in quiet moments reminding you that love has its own alarm system, and it's going off now. Dogs don't write farewells with words. They speak through energy, through choices, through silence. Ooh. And if you've truly loved them, you'll feel it before you see it. That ache in your chest, that sense that something is shifting, isn't paranoia. It's the bond you've built over years, calling out one last time, "Be here now. Don't miss this." And when you finally stop resisting, when you let yourself feel it fully, it changes you. Because you realize it's not about fear, it's about preparation. About standing steady with quiet courage for the one who once stood steady for you. And if that thought already makes your heart ache, stay with me, because in the end the hardest truth isn't about losing them. It's about how much of them will stay with you long after the goodbye. If you've made it this far, you already know the truth. Dogs don't say goodbye with words. They don't cry. They don't plead. They leave us signs, small, quiet, almost invisible, hoping we'll notice before it's too late. And when you do notice, it changes everything. Because in that moment, it's not about fear. It's about presence. About being there when they need you most, not with panic or regret, but with the same loyalty they gave you every day of their life. So if this touched your heart, do one simple thing: leave your dog's name in the comments. Whether they're lying at your feet right now or watching you from beyond, let their love be remembered. And if you want to keep honoring that bond, if you want to understand the hidden ways your dog speaks to you, then tap, like, hit subscribe. Not for numbers, not for us, for them. For every dog who loves quietly, protects fiercely, and leaves without noise, but never without love. Because one day, when the silence feels heavier than the sound, you'll carry their memory. And in that memory, they'll live forever.
98% of dog owners repeat the same feeding habits every single day. They feel harmless: a bite from your plate, an extra treat, the routine you trust. But veterinarians flag these patterns daily: tiny choices that raise inflammation, strain the heart and joints, and steal months from a dog's life. Today we'll decode 14 traps and give you 30-second fixes you can start before tonight's meal. Do not skip number 7, the healthy habit many owners still defend. It hurts adult dogs the most. First, the one almost everyone excuses: table scraps. Imagine this. You're at the dinner table, your dog sits right beside you, eyes wide, ears, perked tail swishing like a metronome of hope. One small piece of sausage or bread feels harmless, almost like sharing love through food. But what seems like kindness is more like handing your best friend a slow-burning fuse. Human meals are built for us, not for them. Salt, oil, spices, even onion or garlic, tiny sprinkles to us, are poison to their system. Veterinary studies have shown that regular people food increases the risk of chronic kidney stress, liver overload, and gastrointestinal inflammation in dogs. Over time, it's not just their organs that suffer. Their behavior changes too. Once a dog learns that your plate is open season, begging, whining, even food stealing becomes their new normal. And worse, they stop seeing their own bowl as a place of nourishment. What starts as a single scrap soon unravels their diet like a loose thread in a sweater. The warmth of sharing turns into silent damage, one bite at a time. And if scraps seem innocent, wait until you see how treats, those sweet little rewards, quietly become the main course. Number 2, too many treats. Think of treats like sprinkles on a cake. They add sparkle joy and a reason to wag a tail faster than a drumbeat. But what happens when sprinkles become the whole meal? That's when sweetness turns into sickness. Treats are powerful tools. With just one crunchy biscuit, you can reinforce sit, stay, or come. But studies in canine nutrition warn that when more than 10% of a dog's daily calories come from treats, the risk of obesity rises sharply. Tiny breeds in particular carry this burden like children carrying backpacks filled with bricks. They stumble under the hidden weight. First, you'll notice less running, then stiff joints, heavier breathing, and eventually heart strain. And dogs are clever negotiators. They learn the art of the pleading gaze, the gentle paw tap, even the theatrical whimper. Owners give in thinking it's love, but really it's silent training in reverse. The dog trains you. The reward becomes the routine, and the habit becomes the health risk. So remember, treats should color the canvas, not paint the whole picture. Before we move on to the third mistake, let me invite you. If you love decoding your dog's world with science, and hit subscribe and join our community of dog lovers. Together, we can give our furry friends longer, happier lives. Up next, mistake number 3. Why guessing your dog's food portions is like pouring water into a glass with no bottom. Number 3. Guessing portions by eye picture. This every day you fill your dog's bowl the way you might water a plant, sometimes a little extra, sometimes not enough. It feels harmless, almost like generosity. But the truth, feeding by guesswork, is like playing roulette with your dog's health. Veterinary nutritionists have found that even a 20% excess in daily calories can over time lead to obesity, joint strain, and heart disease. And the opposite underfeeding robs your dog of muscle energy and vitality, leaving their coat dull and their spirit weak. Imagine pouring water into a glass with no bottom. No matter how much you add, it never balances. That's what happens when you rely on instinct instead of measured portions. Dogs don't always cry out when the bowl is too full or too empty. Their eyes, that pleading look, often trick us. What we read as hunger might just be habit or a call for attention. Slowly, the imbalance builds and the damage hides beneath the surface until it's too late. The solution is simpler than most realize: measuring cups, feeding guides, and regular vet check-ins. Precision is love disguised as routine, and if portions can silently harm, wait until you see the danger of giving just one single meal a day. That's our next stop. Number 4, feeding only one big meal a day. Imagine stuffing all your day's food into one giant plate: breakfast, lunch, and dinner crammed together. At first it feels satisfying, but soon your stomach aches, your body slows, and fatigue creeps in. For dogs, one oversized meal a day is exactly that, a feast that turns quickly into a burden. Veterinary studies show that when a dog's stomach is forced to stretch with a single heavy meal, digestion falters. The risks are serious: bloating, acid reflux, and in deep-chested breeds, a life-threatening condition called gastric torsion. And after the bowl is licked clean, comes the long, hungry silence hours of waiting, where metabolism slows, blood sugar drops, and the body swings between extremes. Puppies and older dogs are especially vulnerable, their energy like a candle burning too fast or too faint. Dogs thrive on rhythm. 2 or more balanced meals act like steady drumbeats, keeping energy, mood, and organs in harmony. One giant serving, however, is like a crashing cymbal, loud, disruptive, and dangerous if repeated. So if one meal can do this much harm, imagine what happens when dessert sneaks in sweet pastries and sugary snacks. That's the next mistake we need to uncover. Number 5, sweets and pastries. Picture a dog's eyes locking on a piece of cake, that hopeful look like a child staring at a carnival treat. It feels impossible to resist one little bite. One tiny cookie surely won't hurt. But sugar for a dog is like smoke in a closed room. It lingers, suffocates slowly, and leaves damage long after the sweetness fades. Veterinary research has shown that even small, regular doses of sugar increase the risk of obesity, gum disease, and insulin resistance in dogs. And the danger isn't just the sugar itself. Pastries often hide raisins, chocolate, or nutmeg ingredients that can poison a dog's system within hours. Imagine a cupcake that looks like joy, but hides a loaded trap inside. Even when toxins aren't present, chemical yeast and trans fats found in commercial baked goods overload the liver and inflame the intestines. What seems like sharing love through dessert is really trading health for a fleeting wag of the tail. True affection isn't in frosting or cookies, it's in protecting your dog's body from silent harm. And if sweets can sabotage from the inside, the next mistake strikes from miscalculation feeding without considering your dog's weight or activity level. That's where we go next. Number 6. Ignoring weight and activity level. Feeding your dog without thinking about their size or daily energy is like giving the same backpack to a marathon runner, and to a grandparent, one uses it with ease, the other struggles under the weight. A tiny lapdog who spends most of the day curled on the couch needs far fewer calories than a shepherd bounding across fields. Yet many owners scoop food as if one size fits all. Research in canine nutrition confirms that calorie needs can vary by more than double between active and sedentary dogs. When a low-energy dog eats like an athlete, fat builds silently, pressing on joints like heavy stones and straining the heart with every beat. On the other hand, a high-energy dog fed too little runs out of fuel. Their muscles shrink, their coat dulls, and their spark fades like a candle left in the rain. Age matters too. Puppies are furnaces of growth, while older dogs move slower, requiring lighter meals. Precision here isn't luxury, it's survival. And if misjudging portions by lifestyle causes such damage, wait until you hear about the next mistake. Giving milk to adult dogs, a drink many owners still see as healthy, but often brings hidden pain. Number 7. Giving milk to adult dogs. Picture pouring a bowl of milk for your dog, thinking it's as nourishing as it was for you as a child. The creamy white liquid looks pure, comforting, almost like love in a cup. But for most adult dogs, milk isn't comfort, it's chaos. Their bodies, unlike puppies, no longer produce enough lactase, the enzyme that breaks down lactose. Without it, milk becomes a storm inside their stomachs, bubbling into gas diarrhea and cramps that leave them restless and weak. Veterinary studies show that lactose intolerance in adult dogs is far more common than most owners realize. A single bowl can trigger digestive upset, and repeated exposure can lead to chronic gut inflammation. What looks like kindness sharing your morning habit can quietly erode your dog's health day by day. It's like offering a friend a blanket woven with thorns, warm on the outside, painful underneath. If you want to give your dog dairy-like treats, safer alternatives exist: lactose-free products designed specifically for pets. That's how love and science walk together. And speaking of habits that feel natural but harm deeply, let's look at one of the oldest myths in dog care, the belief that bones belong in every canine's diet. Number 8. Feeding bones as part of the diet. We've all seen the classic image: a happy dog lying in the yard gnawing on a big bone like it's nature's gift. Movies, cartoons, even children's books repeat this picture until it feels like truth. But behind that romantic image hides one of the most dangerous myths in dog nutrition. Cooked bones, especially chicken or fish, shatter into sharp splinters that cut like glass inside the body. Veterinary case studies report countless emergencies from perforated intestines, bleeding gums, and even life-threatening blockages. Even raw, heavy bones can wedge in the throat-cracked teeth or cause agonizing choking fits. What looks like a harmless chew can turn into a midnight dash to the vet sometimes with no way back. And here's the kicker. Bones add almost nothing nutritionally. The calcium and protein most owners think they're giving locked away unavailable for a dog's system to use. It's like handing a child a shiny toy laced with razor edges, exciting for a moment, but carrying hidden risk every second. Real love isn't in tradition. It's in evidence in safer chews designed to protect joy without harming health. And if ignoring science with bones is risky, the next mistake is just as common brushing off a veterinarian's feeding advice as if we know better. That's where we head next. Number 9. Ignoring the veterinarian's advice. Imagine visiting a doctor for yourself, being handed a clear treatment plan, then tossing it aside because a neighbor swears by some home remedy. That's exactly what many dog owners do with their veterinarian's feeding advice. It's not rebellion, it's trust and habit in forums or in what worked before. But dogs pay the price. Veterinarians don't prescribe diets at random. They weigh breed age, weight activity, even hidden health issues. A Labrador with kidney stress needs restricted protein and salt. A senior pug requires lighter meals, while a growing puppy demands dense energy. Skip this tailored advice, and food becomes silent sabotage. Clinical studies show that non-compliance with veterinary diets directly worsens chronic diseases, shortening both lifespan and quality of life. It's like tuning an instrument, but ignoring the conductor. Each note sounds right alone, but together the music falls apart. A vet's guidance is that conductor aligning every bite with your dog's true needs. Ignoring it is gambling with health on borrowed time. And if overlooking expert guidance can do so much damage, wait until you hear about the next mistake, treating your dog like a child at the dinner table, feeding them whatever your kids eat. That's where we go next. Number 10. Feeding dogs. Like children. Picture. This your child eats porridge pasta, maybe a little homemade burger, and you think if it's safe for them, it must be fine for my dog too. But a dog's body is not a child's body. What fuels growth in a toddler can quietly poison a canine. Children's meals are often high in carbs and salt, low in protein, and sprinkled with sugars or milk. For a dog, it's like running an engine on the wrong fuel. Veterinary nutrition studies show that long-term carb-heavy feeding leads to obesity, diabetes risk, and liver strain in dogs. Add in flavorings, preservatives, or hidden dairy, and you get allergies, chronic digestive upset, and even skin inflammation. What looks like comfort food for us becomes a slow erosion of vitality for them. And behavior shifts too. A dog regularly fed from a child's plate learns to beg wine, even snatch, blurring the line between their bowl and your family's table. Love at mealtime should strengthen bonds, not confuse them. So remember, feeding your dog kid food is like wrapping them in a blanket that doesn't fit, too loose in some places, too tight in others, and never truly protective. And if sharing kids' meals can backfire like this, imagine what happens when we neglect the simplest hygiene, like not washing our dog's bowls. That's the mistake we tackle next. Number 11. Not washing food bowls. Imagine leaving your own dinner plate on the counter day after day, crumbs hardening grease, sticking a thin film of sourness forming. You'd never eat from it again. Yet many dogs are asked to lick their meals from bowls that carry yesterday's leftovers. What looks like a harmless shortcut is really a breeding ground. In warm, damp conditions, bacteria multiply at lightning speed. Veterinary studies confirm that unwashed pet bowls harbor E. coli, salmonella, and mold spores, tiny invaders invisible to the eye. Each lick delivers not just food, but a dose of infection leading to diarrhea, vomiting, and chronic gut inflammation. Even dry kibble leaves a greasy residue that builds a sticky layer where microbes thrive. For a dog, every meal from a dirty bowl is like drinking from a puddle after a storm, refreshing on the surface, polluted underneath. Clean bowls are not luxury, they're first-line defense. Rinsing after every meal, deep washing daily, these simple rituals guard health silently like shields polished before battle. And if dirt in dishes can do such hidden harm, wait until you see what happens when we overload dogs with the wrong kind of fuel, too many carbohydrates. That's our next stop. Number 12. Too many carbohydrates. Think of a dog's body like a finely tuned engine built to run on protein and fat. Now imagine pouring sugar water into the tank day after day. The engine sputters, clogs, and loses its strength. That's exactly what happens when dogs are overloaded with carbs, bread, pasta, potatoes, rice foods that look innocent on our plates, but become heavy burdens in theirs. Scientific research shows that a dog's metabolism is designed to extract steady energy from animal protein and fat, not starches. When carbohydrates dominate, blood sugar spikes, insulin works overtime, and unused energy turns into fat that presses on joints and strains the heart. Obesity, arthritis, diabetes. These aren't sudden storms, but slow floods fed by every spoonful of extra starch. Small breeds and less active dogs are hit hardest, their bodies storing excess like closets crammed with clothes they'll never wear. Even in larger athletic dogs, too many carbs sap endurance, leaving muscles flat and digestion sluggish. And pastries or bread bring hidden salt, yeast, and sugar, which only deepen the harm. If carbs can tip the balance this easily, imagine the damage when allergies go unnoticed, when every meal becomes a hidden trigger. That's the mistake we'll uncover next. Number 13. Ignoring food allergies. Imagine your dog scratching at midnight, rolling on the carpet, licking their paws raw, as if trying to put out an invisible fire. Many owners shrug it off. Maybe it's the weather, maybe just stress. But what often hides behind those restless nights is food allergy, a silent thief that chips away at health bite by bite. Veterinary research shows that food allergies in dogs are far more common than most believe, with proteins like beef, chicken, or dairy often triggering the immune system. Symptoms don't shout at first. They whisper: constant itching, red patches, watery eyes, even soft stools. Each ignored sign is like adding logs to a smoldering fire. The flames grow quietly until they're too big to control. Left unchecked, allergies evolve into chronic dermatitis, ear infections, or digestive disease, draining your dog's vitality day after day. Noticing patterns is love in action. Keeping food diaries, consulting vets, testing new diets, these steps turn confusion into clarity and suffering into relief. Brushing symptoms aside doesn't protect your dog. It chains them to discomfort. And if ignoring allergies is dangerous, the final mistake is even crueler: continuing to feed the very foods that trigger those reactions. That's where we go next. Number 14. Continuing to feed, despite allergic reactions. Picture a dog scratching until tufts of fur scatter like snowflakes, or shaking its head as if trying to escape an invisible swarm. The signs are there: itchy skin, watery eyes, upset stomach, but too often owners dismiss them and keep pouring the same food into the bowl. It's like watching smoke rise from a fire and still throwing wood onto the flames. Veterinary case studies show that repeated exposure to allergens doesn't just maintain the problem, it intensifies it. What begins as mild itching can spiral into chronic dermatitis, ear infections, hair loss, or weakened immunity. Over time, the body is locked in constant battle, Its defenses drained its energy, stolen. For the dog, every meal becomes not nourishment, but a trigger, like reliving the same nightmare at every feeding. True love means noticing and acting, eliminating triggers, working with vets, exploring hypoallergenic diets. These choices turn pain into healing. Continuing as before is not kindness, it's slow neglect disguised as routine. At the end of the day, every mistake we've uncovered isn't born from cruelty, it's born from love. From wanting to share, to comfort, to give our dogs a piece of our own joy. But love without knowledge can sometimes hurt the very beings we treasure most. The truth is, dogs don't need our food, our sweets, or our guesses. They need our care, our attention, and our willingness to learn. Each small change you make, washing a bowl, measuring a portion, skipping that slice of bread, becomes a promise. A promise that your dog's heart will beat longer, their steps will stay lighter, and their eyes will keep shining with the trust only a dog can give. So if you found yourself in these 14 mistakes, don't feel guilty. Feel empowered. Because now you know, and knowing means you can change. If you want to keep walking this path of science stories and devotion together, hit subscribe and join our community of dog lovers. Let's make sure no wagging tail is ever cut short by ignorance again. Let's give them the life they would give us, loyal, joyful, and full of love.
Some dogs bark when they're in pain. Others go silent and disappear behind their eyes. You don't hear a whimper. You don't see a limp. You just notice something's off. He doesn't meet your gaze like before, doesn't run to the food bowl, sleeps more, moves less. And you tell yourself maybe he's just getting old. But deep down you feel it, the shift, the distance, like he's trying to say something without making a sound. If your dog's been your shadow, your silent companion through long winters and quiet rooms, then you already know he won't complain. He'll just endure. But not anymore. In the next few minutes, I'll show you 9 subtle signs your dog might be suffering in silence, backed by science, missed by most, but not by you. Not after today. Let's start with the one most people overlook first, the food bowl. It's not just a skipped meal. It's a message. One that too many of us overlook. Your dog used to charge toward his bowl like a kid running for ice cream, tail wagging, eyes bright, that unshakable excitement only food could bring. Now he sniffs it, turns away, or eats slow, distracted, as if chewing takes effort. You tell yourself maybe he's just picky or tired of the same food. But dogs don't change eating habits for no reason. When the bowl loses its joy, something deeper is happening. Loss of appetite can point to hidden pain, dental issues, joint inflammation, digestive trouble, even depression. But here's the twist. Sometimes it's the opposite. Some dogs eat more fast and frantic, trying to fill an emptiness that has nothing to do with hunger. In a 2024 Frontiers in Veterinary Science study, altered eating patterns ranked among the top behavioral signs of chronic pain. The bowl, it turns out, is a mirror. Watch it closely, and you'll see what words could never say. So, next time he hesitates before dinner, don't just change the brand, pay attention. Because behind that untouched meal could be the first whisper of something much bigger. And what comes after hunger fades is even quieter, not about food, but about connection. It's when the space between you and him starts to grow. Number 2. Isolation and loss of interest. He used to be there right behind you. Every room you entered, every time you stood up, he was already 2 steps ahead. Now he stays put, watches from his bed, doesn't get up when you walk by. You tell yourself he's just resting. Maybe the house is too quiet. Maybe you're imagining it. But withdrawal isn't nothing. For a dog, staying close is instinct. It's how they show love, loyalty, trust. When that fades, it's not about mood. It's about discomfort, the kind that makes movement feel costly. When a dog starts pulling away, especially from the person they're closest to, it's not detachment. It's survival. A recent study from Frontiers in Veterinary Science connected social withdrawal to both physical pain and emotional distress in dogs. That space he's creating between you, that's a wall not because he wants it, but because he needs it to cope. And the hardest part, he thinks he's protecting you by staying silent. If your dog starts skipping routines, not following you to the kitchen, not greeting you at the door, don't chalk it up to age. Chalk it up to a red flag. Because when a dog begins to disconnect from his person, it's rarely without reason. And if you think silence is subtle, wait until you see what happens when sleep becomes the battlefield. That's what's coming next. And it creeps in slow under blankets in the middle of the night. Number 3. Sleep disturbances. It starts small. He changes where he sleeps. Then how long? Then how often he gets up in the middle of the night, shifting, pacing, sighing. You notice, but you don't think much of it. Maybe the bed's too warm. Maybe he's dreaming. But restlessness isn't random. Dogs are creatures of rhythm. When that rhythm breaks, especially at night, it means the body is unsettled. Pain doesn't always scream in the daylight. Sometimes it waits for the dark when the world is quiet, and your dog can't distract himself with your presence. Sleep becomes fragmented. He can't find a position that feels right. He changes sides. He groans getting up. Or he sleeps too much, almost like he's shutting down between moments of discomfort. A study in Frontiers in Veterinary Science found disrupted sleep was one of the earliest behavioral indicators in dogs with undiagnosed pain. It's not laziness. It's not just age. It's exhaustion, not from play, but from bearing something he can't explain. And if your dog, who once slept like a stone by your feet, now seems uneasy through the night, don't ignore it. Pain doesn't always howl. Sometimes it just rustles the blankets. But not all pain is visible in movement. Some of it spirals inward in patterns that repeat again and again, like a dog chasing a circle he can't escape. That's where we're going next, and it's not what most people think. Number 4. Compulsive behaviors. It looks harmless at first, just a little licking, a bit of paw chewing, maybe some pacing around the room. You laugh it off, quirky habits, you think, but then it happens again, and again, and again. What you're seeing isn't personality. It's pain looking for a way out. Dogs don't bite their own feet for fun. They don't spin in circles for entertainment. These behaviors are coping mechanisms. When dogs don't have words, they repeat actions, over and over. Not because they're silly, but because their brain is trying to outrun something their body can't. Some dogs lick until the fur disappears. Some chase their tail like they're trying to escape their own skin. In a clinical review published by veterinary behavior journal, compulsive actions were found to be common in dogs with undiagnosed chronic discomfort, especially those left alone with it. And here's the part that hits hard: the longer it goes on, the more damage they do to themselves. So if your dog keeps licking one spot, or if he's acting off in loops, take note. Don't correct him. Don't distract him. Ask why. Because sometimes pain doesn't limp or cry, it spins in silence. And while loops repeat, eyes don't lie. What comes next hides not in action, but in the stillness of a gaze that doesn't sparkle like it used to. Number 5. Altered expression and gaze. There's a look your dog gives you, the kind that says everything without saying a word. It used to be full of life, bright, open, alert. Now it lingers, heavy, distant, almost like he's looking through you instead of at you. That change isn't in your head. Dogs speak with their eyes. It's how they show joy, comfort, pain, and trust. When that expression fades, when the ears droop, the brow tightens, the spark in their gaze goes dim, it's not just tired eyes. It's a sign their body is carrying something their mouth can't explain. In a 2023 study published in the Journal of Veterinary Behavior, researchers found that dogs experiencing pain often showed measurable changes in facial tension and eye engagement even before other symptoms appeared. One vet put it this way: When the light leaves a dog's eyes, it's time to look closer. The truth is, many dogs try to stay brave. They won't whine. They won't flinch. But their face gives them away. If you've known your dog long enough, you'll feel it the moment it shifts. That soft stare across the room. That hesitation before eye contact. That's not shyness. That's a quiet plea. So watch his face. The angles, the stillness, the soul in his eyes. Because sometimes the pain you can't see in his walk or his bark is right there in the way he looks at you. But not all pain stays still. Some of it trembles. Some of it makes noise, faint, shaky, and easily missed. And that's what we'll uncover next. Number 6. Vocalization and trembling. You're in the next room. It's quiet until you hear it. A soft whine. A low groan. Maybe a sharp exhale that sounds almost like a whisper. You pause. Listen. But when you look, he's just lying there. Still. Watching you. So you chalk it up to a bad dream. Or age. Or nothing. But dogs don't vocalize without reason. Whining, trembling, or those little huffs you've never heard before, they're not background noise. They're signals. In fact, in a 2022 study published by the Journal of Veterinary Internal Medicine, dogs experiencing chronic pain were more likely to exhibit spontaneous vocalizations and body tremors, especially at rest when distractions are gone. You see, pain doesn't always flare when a dog moves. Sometimes it aches when he's trying to be still. And when that discomfort builds with nowhere to go, it escapes however it can, through sound, through breath, through the smallest shiver. Trembling isn't just fear, and whining isn't just attention-seeking. They are the body's last gentle protest. If you've heard your dog make unfamiliar sounds late at night after walks during naps, don't ignore them. Record them. Let your vet hear what he can't say. Because sometimes pain doesn't bark or bite. Sometimes it hums under the skin. And while this kind of discomfort makes noise, the next kind doesn't make a sound at all. It settles in one spot, quiet, focused, relentless, and your dog won't walk away from it, not even if it hurts. That's where we're going next. Number 7. Excessive licking and self-chewing. It always starts with one spot, a paw, a joint, the base of the tail. You see him licking it maybe once, maybe twice, and you think he's just cleaning himself. But then he keeps going and going, until there's no fur left, just raw skin, maybe redness, maybe swelling. Sometimes he chews at it like he's trying to dig something out. But it's not dirt he's after. It's relief. Dogs don't obsess over one spot for no reason. When a dog fixates on a single area of his body, especially without an obvious wound, it's often because something underneath is screaming louder than his instincts can ignore. In a recent behavioral study out of the UK, chronic self-grooming, especially focused repetitive licking, was strongly linked to undiagnosed nerve pain or joint inflammation. And the heartbreaking part. Many dogs were misdiagnosed as anxious or neurotic when in fact they were just trying to soothe something deeper. This isn't just behavior, it's biology. A dog's tongue is the only tool he has to comfort a place that hurts. And if that place is inside the joint or under the skin, he'll keep going long after it helps. So don't wait until the fur is gone. Don't write it off as boredom. Because the pain that makes a dog turn on his own body is often the kind that's already been ignored too long. And where we're headed next, that pain doesn't stay in the body. It shows up in how your dog moves through the world or stops moving at all. Number 8. Changes in mobility and posture. You don't notice it right away. It's just one skipped stare, one slower rise off the floor, one stiff leg after a nap. You assume it's age, and maybe part of it is. But then he stops jumping up to greet you. He hesitates before climbing into the car. He walks different, not limping, not falling, just different. This is where pain hides best. In the small adjustments, the subtle shifts in how your dog moves. You won't always see a full limp, but you'll see hesitation, resistance, the calculation in his eyes before he stands. Because when it hurts to move, dogs don't tell you. They adapt. A study by the Cornell University Canine Health Center found that dogs with joint pain often avoid movement long before they show obvious signs. They compensate until they can't. Watch for the arched back, the tucked tail, the shortened gait. These aren't quirks, they're caution. And if you're seeing it now, chances are it's been building for a while. Don't wait for him to cry out. He won't. He'll just stop doing the things that used to make him feel free. And when that freedom fades, what follows is even harder to spot. Because it's not about stairs or steps, it's about sound. Or rather, the sounds that don't seem to bother you, but shake him to his core. That's where we're going next. And it might surprise you how loud silence can really be. Number 9. Sensitivity to sound. The vacuum turns on. He flinches. A drawer closes. He bolts from the room. Thunder rolls in the distance, and he disappears under the bed like the sky just cracked open. You've heard of noise sensitivity in dogs, fireworks, thunderstorms. But when it starts happening with everyday sounds, the fridge door, footsteps on tile, a car door outside, something deeper may be going on. Pain rewires the nervous system. It makes the world feel sharper, louder, more threatening. What used to be background noise now feels like an alarm. And dogs, being masters of suppression, won't show fear, they'll show avoidance. Trembling, wide eyes, holding their breath. A 2021 study in Frontiers in Veterinary Science found that dogs experiencing chronic discomfort were far more reactive to sudden sound stimuli. Not because of fear alone, but because the body already under stress has no tolerance left. So if your dog suddenly startles at what used to be nothing, don't assume it's nerves. Ask what's changed. Look closer. Because it's not just the sound that's different, it's him. And now that you've seen all 9 signs, you're starting to see the bigger picture. Each one alone is easy to miss. But together, they're a language, a message. And what you do next, now that you understand what he's been trying to say, might change everything. So let's talk about what comes after awareness action. The kind that makes a difference, right now. He never asked for much, just your company, a quiet spot by your feet, a glance that said, "We're okay." But now, maybe for the first time, he's been trying to ask for something more, without using a single word. You've seen the signs, one by one. A change in appetite, distance where there used to be closeness, restless nights, licking that never ends, eyes that don't shine like they used to. Not every dog will show all 9. Some may only show 1, but that one could be everything. So pay attention. Trust what you feel. You've known him longer than anyone else has, and if something feels off, it probably is. And if this video helped you see something you hadn't seen before, stay with us. Subscribe to the channel. Because your dog's story doesn't end here, and neither does yours. We'll be here helping you listen to the parts of your dog that don't have a voice, but speak straight to your heart.